Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Anime Trade Show, the show where we talk about anything and everything anime. I'm your host, Shonen Shinobi. This is going to be a short introductory episode, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot. Originally, I wanted to do this episode on one of my favorite animes and the show that got me into anime in the first place. However, while discussing the trade show with my friends and loved ones, I found myself having to repeatedly describe what exactly anime is. So, ultimately, I decided to do my first episode on that exact topic. What exactly is anime? So let's just jump right into it. So at first it may seem easy, especially for those of us who are fans of anime, to tell exactly what anime is. Anime, not anime. It's obviously different, but what exactly makes it different? The average person, especially those who have a limited exposure to anime, are most likely going to tell you anime is animation from Japan. And I understand that statement. Statistically, most anime is from Japan. However, animation does not have to come from Japan to be considered anime. Let me explain. Anime, by definition, is a Japanese disseminated animation style. It is not animation disseminated from a certain geographical region, in this case Japan. In fact, there are several popular anime that are not from Japan at all. Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, not the crappy movie based on the cartoon, its sequel, Avatar: The Legend of Korra, are both really good examples of anime from completely other countries besides Japan. Another good example is Rooster Teeth's CGI web series called RWBY. Both of these are examples of anime made in countries other than Japan. But what would you say if I told you there are some Japanese anime that actually have their origins from countries other than Japan? One example is Witchblade. Witchblade started as an American comic of the same name. Eventually that comic got its own live-action TV series, followed by a Japanese anime adopting the story with a different cast of characters and setting. So, anime doesn't have to come from Japan, and neither does its origins. In fact, the Japanese word anime doesn't discriminate where the animation comes from at all, and I can prove it. Before I explain, there are two things you need to understand about the Japanese language. The first is, Japanese uses three alphabets: kanji, hiragana, and katakana. Kanji and hiragana are mostly used for native words, kanji borrowing Chinese symbols, and hiragana used to spell words that don't have kanji or were around before the influences of China came. Katakana is the one we really need to pay attention to. Katakana is used to make the phonetic sounds for foreign words, much like the Roman letters that we use in English form the phonetic sounds for parts of our words. The second thing you need to know about Japanese language is Japanese have a tendency to lop off the end of longer words, created shortened, abbreviated versions of that word. Now, anime has three katakana symbols: a, ni, me. And we just learned katakana is used mostly for foreign words, and Japanese have a tendency to lop off the end of longer words. So let me just do this. A, ni, me, shi, yo, n. Anime is actually a katakana shortened version of the English word animation. And in Japan is a reference to all forms of animation, not just what we consider anime. So for me, this is the final nail in the coffin, that anime is not Japanese exclusive, and was never meant to be in the first place. It was us in the West who gave anime a definition of Japanese animation. And I can understand why. It is its own style. And that's exactly the point I want to bring home. Anime is an animation style, not a reference to a geographical origin. Now that we have an understanding of what the definition and origins of anime are, why don't we take a look at animation itself? What sets it apart from other styles of animation? Well, let's start with the obvious. Anime tend to have very detailed plots, and the character designs tend to be very distinct and memorable, often portraying characters with large eyes, distinguishing features, and sharp lines. Sceneries also tend to be very detailed and often contain references to actual events and places, or contain actual places themselves. Now, some people may wonder, why put so much effort, attention, and detail into a medium intended for entertainment? Well, that's just the thing. In Japan, this is more of an art than entertainment. Now, I'm a musician, so I'm going to use a musical analogy here. Anime in Japan is kind of like how music is in some European countries. Now, let me explain. I live in the US, and here in the US, if you want to start a band, you get a bunch of friends together who may or may not have had a formal musical education and go and start playing shows in certain venues and hope to get noticed and signed to a record label and start making money. In some European countries, there are academies you go to for music. It's taken much more seriously and given a lot more attention, and you can tell in the quality of music and the talent that you get. Well, that's the case with the European artists that are released in the US, at least. The same care and devotion is given to anime. It's a passion. It's more than just a form of entertainment for them. It's a way to retell and pass down stories in fun and entertaining ways. Okay, let's look at a couple of different ways that you can classify anime. Now, there are many genres of anime, and even more subgenres that you could separate the different shows into. However, I found it works pretty well if you narrow it down to 5 main genres: action, fantasy, drama, comedy, and experimental. Most anime will fit into one or a combination of these genres. I plan on doing a trade show episode going into more detail on these genres later, so I'll save my information for that. Well, I think it's about time that I start wrapping things up for this episode. But before I go, there are a few things I want to address. First, I don't know how often I'm going to be able to put out one of these episodes. I work full-time, but I promise I'm going to do my best to put an episode out as quickly and as professionally as I can. Next, if I did not cover something that you think I should have covered or you think I missed, please let me know in the comments. I created this show as a place for fans to gather and discuss, and that's exactly what I want to encourage everyone to do. Also, I am currently looking for an animator to create an opening animation for the anime trade show. If you or someone you know is an animator and might be interested, get in touch with me through Google and Facebook and we can discuss it. My vision for the trade show is to make it very viewer involved, and here's how that's going to work. At the end of each episode, I'm going to give a hint as to what the next episode's topic is going to be. If there is anything you want to hear me talk about concerning that topic, be it lore, be it inconsistencies, be it things you found confusing when you first watched the series, let me know in the comments. I will combine your information with my own research, and if I can fit it in the episode, I will put it in. Now, earlier I mentioned how originally I wanted to do this episode on the series that got me into anime in the first place. Well, that's exactly what the next episode is going to be about, and here's your hint as to what that series was. That's right, we're kicking off our series discussion with a big one, Dragon Ball Z. So, let me know in the comments what you want to hear me discuss. Or, if you have an idea for a future episode, I would love to hear those ideas too. That's all I have time for today. I'm Shonen Shinobi, and I'll see you at the next trade show.